I guess in today's session, we'll discuss two more classifiers related to ML, and could we just brush up what was the content we discussed in yesterday's session? What have we discussed in yesterday's session, guys? You can unmute yourself and speak, guys, because we Kishore, Srividya, and recall about terminologies of classification, steps in classification, classifiers, okay, K&N algorithm, and logistic regression. Very good. So these were the content which we were discussing in yesterday's session, and in today's session, this will definitely be a continuation of yesterday's session. Coming back, concept. So all those things we have seen, right? So I'll just try to refresh about KNN concept because I think if people are familiar with the logistic regression, and I'll try to recall the concept of KNN. So the nearest neighbor will be chosen, and the formula used is actually the distance formula. And so here we do have the picture which shows how the data point will look before the KNN, and how the data point will be looking after using or after applying this KNN classifier. So before the KNN process or KNN classifier, so if there is a point which is been picturized in blue color dot, and we need to identify or we need to picturize which category this particular dot belongs to. Say for example, we have some green dots or green plottings in A category, and yellow plotting in category B, and we do have a new data point that is which is in blue color, and we need to identify which particular category this particular blue point comes under. One second. So in this particular case, what will happen is a circle will be drawn around this particular blue dot, and it will be mapping the closest neighbor which is available, and based on the distance, the very closest neighbor will be identified, and for that particular category, the existing point or the new point will be converted. The given point or the new point will be converted, right? So here we can just see. So you can just see there is a circle. If we just construct a circle, this is actually very closest point which is nearby to this particular blue dot. So that this particular blue dot is being converted to category A. So we have two categories A and B based on the closest neighbor, the most nearest neighbor. The dot or the new point is being converted. Okay, so we do have say suppose for one circle we have the second circle, and we may have the third circle also, and based upon this we'll be assigning the k value, whether the k value belongs is 1, how many dots are there. Based on that, the k value will be the kernel value will be assigned. So here we have kernel 1, 2, and 3, right? So based on this, the new point will be converted or assigned to the category available. Okay. So this is what KNN means, and here we also discussed about the algorithm related to KNN, and this is actually the example which shows the image, and we do have around 5 set of images: honeybee, lava, and a fly, cat, and hen image. So out of this, we do have a green color image. So this image need to be identified through which category or through which category of the existing image the new image belongs to. So on what criteria this particular new image will be marked up is based upon the feature. So based upon the feature, this particular plotting will be there, will be done, and after plotting is done, the circles will be drawn, and after this circle is constructed, based upon this, the closest neighbor will be found out, and with the help of the closest neighbor, the existing or the new input will be converted to the existing category. Right. So this will be the work carried away when we implement or when we use this KNN classifier. Okay. So these are actually the steps where the KNN algorithm will be followed. And next, coming back to support vector machine, and we used to call it as SVM algorithm or SVM classifier. So when it comes to machine learning, we used to call it as classifier, right? So this particular SVM will be used when the data set belongs to supervised learning methodology. And when do we call a particular data set is of supervised or unsupervised? It comes under this particular category. So when do you call the particular data set comes under supervised or unsupervised learning category?
Whether it has label or
Very good. So based upon the label, we used to call the particular data set. We used to classify the particular data set comes under the supervised learning or unsupervised learning. So this support vector mission will be used when the data set belongs or when we choose supervised learning methodology to perform the prediction. And the methods, by using this SVM, we can do classification, we can do regression, and we can even do outlier detection. And let us discuss what is outlier detection in upcoming sessions, right? So by drawing the a line, so in previous sessions we just saw, so in previous sessions, we just saw how to categorize based upon the line. So in linear regression, what we'll be doing, we'll just construct once again. Somebody's waiting, I guess. So when we just need to classify which category this particular data belong to, what we'll do in linear regression, we'll just draw a slope based upon the slope formula y is equal to mx plus c, and based upon the line, the linear line, we'll be segregating it into categories, right? So the same way, even in SVM also, we used to draw a straight line between two different classes or two different categories, and we'll just separate the values into two different categories. Okay, that will be the work which we'll be doing in this support vector machines, right? And what happens is, while we just segregate it, the points will be falling based upon the classes, whether this comes under the first class or second class, and maybe the first class would be labeled structure and the second class will be unlabeled structure. Based upon that, or based upon the labeled and unlabeled structure also, there will be some grouping, right? So this is also possible, but in SVM what we'll do is, if there is some set of plotting available, we'll be constructing a straight line, and based upon the straight line, the particular plottings will be classified into two different classes, will be grouped accordingly, and it will be segregated into two different classes. Okay, so this is actually the picture which shows how the SVM actually works. See, for example, we do have the green color dots and blue color square boxes, blue color boxes. These blue color boxes are there. So I told you, right, we'll be constructing a straight line, and based upon that, the particular data will be segregated into two classes. So here we can just consider this is class 1 and this is class B. Right. So based upon the line and based upon the plottings, we can just identify that the blue color boxes comes under positive hyperplane. So what is hyperplane? We'll discuss it. Discuss it. Okay. So based upon the plotting available above the line, we used to call it as positive hyperplane, and based upon the plotting green color dots which is plotted below the particular line, we used to call it as negative hyperplane. right? So normally when you just go with x-axis, y-axis, we also have x dash and y dash. Yes? Do you remember the graphical representation? We'll be having four vectors. X, this is for example, okay? So by this we can just segregate into four different quadrants, and these two belongs to positive end and these two belongs to negative end. Say for example, if the line is constructed like this and the plottings are here and here, what happens? This will become the positive data and this will become the negative this becomes the negative data. Do you understand how we uh, classify this as positive hyperplane and negative hyperplane? This is actually the plane. Consider this is actually plane, and we are just constructing a straight line, and we are just plotting, we are just segregating it into two different classes, and the plottings which comes above the line, we used to call it as positive hyperplane, and the plottings which comes below or under the particular line, we used to call it as negative hyperplane. Are you people clear with this, guys? As of now, are you clear?
Unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
Understood, ma'am.
Understood? Fine. So now what happens is, so here we do have the closest plotting. So this blue color and this green color. So based on this, we are just going to categorize, and based on this, we are just going to find the margin. So we are just going to construct the margin. This is the maximum margin in this particular hyperplane. So what is this maximum margin? The closest point which is nearby to this particular plottings, we will be constructing it as maximum margin. And the plottings we used to call it as support vectors. These are the points which we'll be calling it as support vectors, and these vector points supports us to construct the maximum margin, and based upon this maximum margin, we just categorize or we just enclose the particular points which comes under or which comes within the maximum margin limit. Okay, so here we used to call it as this is actually the dotted lines, we used to call it as maximum margin limit, and which is constructed in the hyperplane, so we used to name it as maximum margin hyperplane, and the points based upon which we construct the maximum margin, we used to call it as support vectors. Got it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Others, any doubt? Others? I've received only one response. Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, I'm getting only one response. What happened?
Ma'am, they both are chatting in the chat box.
Oh, chatting. So I couldn't view it. Okay. Since I'm just making my screen in presentation mode, I can't see the chats. Fine. So coming back to the construction. So as I told you, we'll be finding the support vectors. So this is actually one support vector, and this is actually one support vector. And based on this, we'll be classifying and we'll be analyzing the maximized margin. So this is the margin limit, the maximum margin limit we can construct in this particular hyperplane. Okay. So it is not that we can draw the line only in this particular way. We can draw the line in any way, right? So here we have a line in this way. Yes. So I can even group this particular plotting into two different class even by constructing a line this way. Yes or no? I can construct a line this way, and I can again group these two plottings into two different classes. I can even construct one more line. I can even construct a line this way and I can group it. And I can even construct a line in this way. Yes or no? Is it possible for me to construct line in any of these direction and to group those classes into two ways?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So how do I construct the line and how do I select only this particular line suits my algorithm, or this particular line gives me the optimum value or a very good efficient value. How do I select? Thing is that, so based upon the classification, based upon the plottings available in the classes, we'll be constructing the line, and even that line is constructed based upon the plottings available and the maximized margin which we can construct. So based on that, we will be constructing the lines. Okay. So next, we do have two types of SPM. So one is actually linear separable and one is not linearly separable. See, for example, you can just see two different images are just given. So here it is easy for us to construct a straight line, where this particular straight line, once it is constructed, the plottings will be converted, or the plottings will be separated into two different classes. Obviously, since the plotting is also in that particular way, it is easy for us to just classify those two groups easily. Yes, so these kind of plotting, so these kind of classification we used to use linear separable SVM. And when look at the image 2, so when this kind of plotting is there, what happens? It is very difficult for me to draw a line this way. Again, I can't just equally group up the red color and green color plottings, because this is definitely not possible. So if I just draw a line in this way, my green color and red color plus symbol will not be equally segregated. Okay, fine. So let me try it in this way. So even if I just construct the line in this way, definitely my grouping is not going to be that much accurate as such of linear separable way. And if I just construct a line in this way also, it is not going to work out. So what can I do in this particular stage? So what will I do in this particular stage? So I can't group or segregate using a single line. So that is definitely not possible. So what can I do? Guys, see, what can I do is I can just group it in this way. While separating the green color and red color symbols, so it is not that when I just use the straight line, it comes under linear. When I don't use a straight line and I use some different types of curves in order to separate the values, so that kind of things we used to call it as not linearly separable. So it is definitely not possible for us to separate the values into two different categories by constructing a single line. Do you understand what is not linearly separable and not linearly separable? Students, guys? Yes, fine. So I'm just coming back to the normal mode because I couldn't see your chats. Okay. So I guess you understood what is actually linearly separable and non-linearly separable. So we can't group the values into two different categories by just constructing a single line. So here, in this particular, these are the two types of SVM, right? So here, what is the formula which we use for linearly separable? Sorry, for the SVM is we use generally for slope, or construct a straight line in a hyperplane, we'll be using slope formula, which is y is equal to mx plus c, and here we'll be using y dash dot x dash, or vector y vector dot x vector plus b is equal to minus 1. Why this minus 1? Any guesses? And here you can see y vector dot x vector plus b is equal to 1. So here I got 1, here I got minus 1, wherein
Since
here
it
I
is
am getting
negative,
0.
ma'am.
Yes, 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 ma. Come again.
It is negative since it is
Very good. Since it is negative, here we saw the plottings which comes under the line, the linear line, we used to call it as negative hyperplane. and the plotting switch comes above the particular linear construction or linear plane. We used to call it as positive hyperplane. The same way, here it is being denoted as -1 and +1 in that particular perspective. Fine. So what is actually, why this 0 is being plotted over here? 0 over here. You can consider it in this way. So here we have a perpendicular line which is constructed from this particular midpoint. So here this is actually 0, right? This is 0. So this the line is constructed towards the particular plane, and this acts as the perpendicular. This is perpendicular to this particular plane. Sorry, to this particular slope which we constructed. So we don't have whether this we do have one more quadrant or we do have two more quadrants. The thing is that this is actually a single plane. In this particular single plane, we have just segregated into negative and positive plane based upon the line which slope line which we construct. If the slope line is crossing beyond the particular limit, we used to mark it as 0. So we'll be assigning the particular formula, particular value to be 0. Got it? Why I have just plotted as 0? Guys,
Why is the slope line exceeding, ma'am?
if it is exceeding, we'll be plotting it as 0. We need to go it and we need to understand even if it is exceeding, right?
Yes,
If the
ma'am.
slope line is extended, we need to know what we have to do.
Yes, ma'am.
So for that, I have just given you an example of
Okay.
extending lines.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, if it is extended, we'll be marking it as 0, right? If the plotting is below, and definitely we are not going to get the plotting below the particular the x2, the line x2, we are not going to get plottings because we do have only one plane. The plotting will not going to go beyond the particular plane. But still, if there is something happening and if the line is being extended for some reason, we'll be marking it as 0. It will be we'll be assigning the particular formation to be 0, right? So here what happens is the negative value will be assigning here. You can just see the negative values assigned to the class 2 and the positive values assigned to class 2, right? So this is actually the way which SVM works. So definitely all these calculation, we are not going to worry about all this calculation when we go with machine learning. The thing is that we'll be just calling or we'll be initializing this particular classifier, and will be the initialized classifier will be allotted or initialized to some variable, and we'll be calling that variable and we'll be doing the performance, right? We won't be doing all this calculation in manual way, we won't be doing. And even the user cannot see what is the background process carried away when we use SVM classifier, KNN classifier, whatever it is. The user cannot see the background process. That is the beauty of ML.
Ma'am,
Okay. Yes.
ma'am, what is X and B?
What is actually y is equal to mx plus b, Shakti? We are using the same formula but with some different variables. That's it.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Okay, the same thing. You don't need to worry about the terms. So while we just proceed with the hands-on session, working with some data sets, we will be explained. Okay. So as of now, it is enough. What is SVM? What are the types of SVM we have, and what is the formula we use in SVM, and what actually the SVM, how actually the SVM works. Okay, because each and every classifier has its own way of working. So we need to understand being the learners of machine learning, we need to understand how each and every classifier is working, right? The background process of each and every classifier is definitely we need to understand all those concepts, right? And next, this is actually the example. Do you remember this example, this picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what is this actually? It is similar to that of the example which I have stated you yesterday. So here the label is actually the data set which we give consist of.
Classification.
Yes, of course. The classification is the work which is performed over here. And since we are seeing the classifiers, I have just used the example. And here what happens is I do have the data set which consists of both the cat and dog image. And I've just created a model. And with that model, I start predicting if my new data set is given, it starts predicting and the output will be displayed. So the background process based upon, so based upon the work the SVM does, it actually segregates into two different classes, cat and dog classes. It will just segregate. And then based upon the features which we are giving as the input, say for example, in this image you can just see a tail, a long tail, and the ears. So maximum the data which we give as input similar to dog will not have the ears in this way, right? This is one of the feature. Leg is one of the feature, and nail is one of the feature, tail is one of the feature, nose is one of the feature. All those things are different features, and based upon these features, the particular image is being categorized or classified as cat image. Got it clear? Yes or no, guys? Are you
Yes,
people
ma'am.
clear with this? Okay, fine. This is actually SVR. So now, next, moving on to the next classifier. Okay, fine. So as of now, how many classifiers we have just discussed? How many classifiers we have discussed and what are they? KNN and SPM, okay. What about yesterday? Overall, how many algorithms or how many classifiers we have discussed?
2 KNN and SVM, ma'am.
Yesterday's concept?
Yesterday you taught us KNN, ma'am.
Okay. What about logistic regression?
That is also a classifier, ma'am.
Yes, of course. I told you, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. So, classification, logistic regression is one of the technique used for
Okay,
classification.
ma'am.
So, obviously, logistic regression, linear regression, all those things are classifiers, right? So, here in linear regression, the thing is that we use different method in different classifiers.
Linear regression will be coming under a regression, right, ma'am?
It comes under regression, but the thing is that we definitely we are just going to do classification process with that. You're going to identify, right?
How, ma'am?
Fine. So, what are the works you can, what are the problems you can predict using linear regression?
House price.
Okay. Other than that, other than that,
Income.
okay. So, based on
Then
the
total
data
money.
which you give, based on the data which you give, Shakti, see for example, if I give a data set which consists of the area and the price, and I'm just asking my machine or I'm just asking my model to predict my price based upon the area, right? So, I'll be preferring linear regression. Yes? Yes
Yes.
or no? Yes? Fine. So if I'm just having the area, one field is area and one more field is number of rooms available and one more field is number of floor. The particular house belongs to which floor. So based on this, I want my machine or I want my model to predict my price. So which model I'll be suggesting or which classifier I'll be using? What will I use in order to predict
I
the
mean,
price?
income, then house price. Where are we classifying, ma'am?
No, my question is very simple. You just answer my question. I'll come to your point.
What is your
Srividya, we use
question, ma'am?
logistic regression, right? So we'll be using logistic regression in order to calculate the price. Okay. So what is the work we are doing in both linear regression and logistic regression with respect to house price prediction?
Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
Yes, okay. So first thing, I'm just going to give a data set which consists of area and the price. Okay. I'm just going to give a price, a data set which consists of area and price. Based upon that particular input, I want my model to predict if I give the input of some area in the format of square feet, my model should predict me the price. Fine. So if my data set is in this way, which algorithm or what algorithm I'll be moving on?
Linear, ma'am.
Linear regression. Why linear regression? Why linear regression in that particular place?
Number data prediction.
Number data prediction. Okay. One more point. One more point is there. Why we go for linear regression? Fine, I accept. We prefer regression. Why linear? I explained this concept. Why linear? Since we have only two axes x and y, we go with linear regression. We have only two fields or two features, area and price alone. So we move on with linear regression.
Yes, ma'am. Like if I increase the
Yes.
area,
If my
then
area is increasing, my price will
what is
also get
the
increased. So
association?
I move on with linear regression. Fine. So if I do have different fields like area and the number of rooms available and number of on which floor my house is available. So what will I go? And again, I need to predict my price. Which algorithm I'll be referring?
Multiple linear regression.
Multiple linear regression.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Sindhu ma'am took logistic regression with the house prediction database or data set?
Ma'am, you taught us linear
I
regression.
taught you linear regression, I agree. But Sindhu
Yes,
ma'am
ma'am.
taught you one day house price prediction with logistic regression, I guess.
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll do one thing. In next session, after completing the two more algorithms or left out algorithms, I'll go with the same data set and I'll work the particular data set with both linear regression and logistic regression so that you can understand how this logistic regression comes under classification.
Okay.
Okay? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, I'll teach you in hands-on session how this particular concept comes under the classification problem also. Okay? Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Just remind me if I forgot about the explaining you about how this particular concept comes under the classification. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Coming back to decision tree, I guess you people understand about linear regression, logistic regression, KNN, and SVM. Any doubt in all these four algorithm or concept?
No doubts, ma'am.
No doubt, right? What about others? Kishore, Srividya, and one more. Who is that one more? Divya Bharati. Okay, fine. So next, coming back to decision tree. So in this particular decision tree, this is also one more classifier. So in this particular classifier, we'll be having branches. So based upon the branches, we'll be selecting. Say for example, see, this is actually the root node, and next we'll be having the decision nodes. Decision node A and decision node X, say for example. And if I opt for this particular decision A, again I'll be going on to the next sub terminal node, which acts as the A, B, and C. Again, I'll be selecting. If I select this particular B, this B will be acting as decision node, and the sub nodes will be acting as terminal node. Okay, the root node is actually the parent, and next we have decision nodes. If we pick any one from this particular decision node, again we'll be having the terminal nodes. Again, from this particular terminal node, if I just pick one particular node, that terminal node will act as the decision node. Clear how this decision node is being transferred to terminal node and decision node?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So here we do have one more example. So here, just give this example. Yes, here we have an example of just analyzing or predicting whether a person is fit or not. Okay, if the person is less than 30, if it is yes, and if he is eating lots of pizza, if again it is no, if it is yes, the person is unfit. Even if the age is less than 30 and he is eating lot of pizzas and junk foods, he'll be considered to be as unfit. If the person is less than 30 and he is not eating lots of pizza, he is considered to be fit. Did you understand how we move on to how we use this particular decision tree in order to select whether the person is fit or not? Yes. So here we are doing classification. We are the problem which we handle is classification problem. Obviously, we are just going to predict whether a person is fit or not, yes or no. Okay, so that we used to know. I think now you can understand what is classification here. Is a person fit or not? This comes under classification problem, right? So here what happens, using the age factor, I'm just going to predict. So this is actually the first parameter. I'm just going to check if the person is less than 30. If I have multiple branch of processing I need to carry away, and I need to predict the particular classification, or I need to give solution for the classification problem, I'll be moving on to this particular decision tree. And here I have, if the age is less than 30, if it is yes, I'll be moving on to the next terminal node. And next what happens, this particular terminal node will act as the decision node. And here again we have a question, if he is eating lot of pizza, if it is yes, he is not fit. If it is no, he is actually fit. And we do have one more terminal node with respect to this particular age less than 30. If the person is greater than 30, if he is greater than 30, what happens? Sorry, if he is less than 30, what happens? If it is no, if this particular condition becomes no, what happens? And even then he is exercising in the morning. If yes, he'll be considered to be fit. If he is not exercising in the morning, he is considered to be unfit. Okay, now could you understand how this decision tree performs? Guys, respond me. Students? Yes. Okay. Just received the response only from Kishore. What happened to others?
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Understood? Sri Vidya, Divya Bharati. All right. So I didn't get response from Sri Vidya and Divya Bharati. What happened? Not able to understand? Is not able to understand?
Sri Vidya is not here, ma'am.
Sri Vidya is not here. Divya Bharati is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine, okay. So this is all about decision tree, okay. So now coming back to one more example. So here we have lot and lot of terminal nodes and decision nodes, right? So this kind of structure, tree structure, we used to call it as maximum depth. So here we have maximum terminal nodes, which we used to call it as maximum depth tree, okay. Yes, here is actually the example how actually the particular decision tree works. Say, for example, a company is recruiting the people, or company is recruiting the people based upon some Google, FB, and ABC Pharma, and these are the organization, and these organization is going to recruit some people. Okay, so here what happens is Google, say for example, we do have here company acts as the decision node, and here we do have three terminal nodes, and here I'm just picking Google as the decision node.
Ma'am, the company is the root node, right, ma'am?
Yeah, first the company's root node. When it comes to this particular the terminal node, what happens, this acts as the decision. So we'll be picking any one of these three, right? So we won't be picking all the three things. So first it will be acting as root node, and again it will be converted into decision node. And then if it comes to this particular Google, what happens? So this particular, for this particular tree, this particular subtree, Google is again the root node, and again this will act as the decision node, and these business manager, computer programs, and sales executives acts as the terminal node. Understood?
Ma'am, the computer programmer is a decision node and bachelor's masters as the terminal node.
Yes, again, when I go to computer programmers, this particular computer program will act, a programmer will act as decision node, and bachelors and masters will act as terminal nodes. When I go to that particular point only, it will be converted into decision nodes and terminal nodes. When I go with the first node, company node, these particular bachelors and masters will not be into the part at all, right? So only step by step, level by level, it will be moving on. So when I come to the first part, what happens? So the company acts as the root node, and Google, FB, and ABC Pharma acts as the terminal node. So when when the company is acting as the decision node, these three acts as the terminal node. When again I come to Google, so this acts as the decision, and these three acts as the terminals. So business manager, computer programmer, and sales executive, these three nodes acts as the terminal when this Google comes as the decision node. Got it clear? Step by step, it will just move. It is not that in the starting stage itself, it will act as a terminal node or decision node. Step by step, when the pointer is moving to next step, that particular point will be acting as either decision node or terminal node. Fine? Shakti, not able to understand?
Ma'am, understood, ma'am.
Understood? Fine. So here, this way, the category is going to be, decision tree is going to be applied. So here we have a business manager, computer programmer, and sales executive. And we are not going to pick persons for sales executives, and we are just going to pick according to Google. So we are just going to pick the staff based upon the bachelor's degree and master's degree for computer programmer designation. The same way in ABC Pharma, we're just going to pick the person for business manager based upon bachelor's and master's degree. So here I have just segregated this company and degree. So here, when it comes to company, we do have FB and ABC Pharma. Here we have Google and ABC Pharma. So you can even consider it as okay, let us consider it as FB and ABC Pharma. Here in FB, we have lot and lot of what to say, designations already existing, and based upon their bachelor's and master's degree, the designation is being allocated. And even in ABC Pharma, we do have some designations. Even in degree, we have bachelor's and master's degree. This is again one of the terminal node, which I have just again made it as decision node. Okay, so here degree acts as the decision node, and bachelor's and master's acts as the terminal node. Now understood, Shakti? So here actually the degree, we don't have any specific degree node, but here when I just split it up into some subcategories, what happens? We can just split it up into two different trees. when I just group up into two trees or three trees, what happens? We can just make it as decision nodes and terminal nodes accordingly. We can just convert it. Okay. So here, what happens when I just use this decision tree? We'll be having entropy. So when I just use the ML or Python to just construct and to call this particular decision tree classifier, I'll be using a particular category called entropy. So there I'll be allocating how many entropy is there. So how I'll just pick this entropy is, so based upon this I'll be picking. See, for example, I have six green colored feature, and I don't have any red color features here. So 6 out of 0, I don't have entropy with 0, that is with red color. So I do mark it as low entropy. So consider this. So I have
Ma'am,
three
what
particular
is entropy?
entropy is actually we'll be having some statistical calculation. So we did in SVM and all those things, right? So based upon this, we'll be grouping up, right? So say for example, do you know epoch? Have you come across the term epoch?
No, ma'am.
No, the number of times we run the particular code, we used to call it as epoch. The same way, entropy deals with statistics, right? So we'll be grouping up the data based upon the entropy category.
Epoch means what, ma'am?
Epoch is actually the number of times we execute the particular code. We used to call it as epoch. EPOCH.
Expansion or
It is not. We don't have any expansions, Shakti. See, while we just do all hands-on session, you can identify these. What to say? These terms you can just identify in the line of codes. I'll be explaining
okay,
line by line and word by word. Okay. Okay, when we just go with decision tree, what will happen? We'll be dealing with entropy. So here in entropy we have lot of types of entropy. So you no need to get confused with lot of entropies as of now. So entropy is actually statistical calculation based upon with which we'll be grouping. We'll just group the data, we'll be just grouping the features. Okay, so here in Facebook we have some six green colored features, and where in ABC Pharma we have one green colored feature and three red colored features. So I just mark it as 1 by 3. And wherein in this particular bachelor's degree, what happens? I do have 4 out of 4. So 4 out of 4 is not at all possible. So it is actually high entropy. In maximum case, we won't be getting 4 out of 4. Okay. So in master's degree, what happens is we have around 6 green colored categories and 2 red colored categories. So I have just plotted it as 6 out of 2. Okay. This way we are just grouping. So we told you, right? So see, for example, in this particular image, you can see this red color and green color dots. Yes. So how we are just plotting these red color and green color dots?
by using SVM.
Yes, by using what?
SVM.
SVM. Okay. By using SVM, we are just plotting. By using which activity we are just plotting? So we are using statistical for plotting, right? So the image is completely different from plotting. How do I plot an image over here? So this is actually one image. This is actually one image. So all those things are different images. How do I plot all those images? Because I used to convert my image into vector and matrix format, and then I'll start plotting. Okay, this way we deal computer science. It is not that computer science deals with theoretical part. Computer science generally deals with lot of mathematics and statistics. So the same way, entropy is also one of the statistical method which we use in order to group up the data. Okay, and this way we just group up the data, and then by using the decision tree we'll be grouping. See, for example, how will I group the students or the uh, staffs who have completed only bachelor's degree? By identifying some features with them, by identifying their certificates, or by cross verifying their certificates, I can just group them. They belong to bachelor's degree. Based upon the degree certificate, I can just verify and I can check whether they have performed master's degree, and I can group them into master's degree classification. This way I can just group. So based upon these groupings, I'm just classifying it into entropy format. So here I can even classify it as low entropy and high entropy. Okay. These are the structures which we use in the decision tree classifier. And this is the formula which we use in decision tree classifier. Okay, so here you can just identify. One second. So here you can just identify PI and log. Yes?
Ma'am, there is some background noise.
One second. Okay, so here you can just identify. One second. Okay, so here we do have E of S. So S stands for the solution which we opt. And here let me explain this formula in detail. And here you can just identify P of I log 2. So what happens is we'll be identifying the value. So here we got the entropy value, right? 6 out of 0, 1 out of 3. These things are denoted here. This is actually P of I. Okay, these things are denoted here, and based upon the logarithmic value we just solve it and we just get the solution. Okay, it is enough if you just know which formula is used for decision tree, because if you go in depth, actually, as I told you in earlier sessions, if I need to understand a decision tree concept alone, we do have a separate book for decision tree. It is such a huge volume of concepts. The same way, if I need to understand SVM, I have a separate book for SVM, right? So it is very deeper concept. You no need to dive into that much of deeper concept. It is enough what is SVM, how this SVM works in background. If we understand in that way, that is more than sufficient. You don't go much deeper as of now. Once you complete this course, and if you feel deep learning and advanced concept of machine learning is okay for you, you can do that much those courses and you can understand. So even in that, they won't be covering much deeper. They won't be going much deeper into SVM and decision tree. Okay, guys, are you people clear with this?
Yes,
Am I
ma'am.
very? Which one, Kishore, you want me to explain? You want me to explain about that entropy concept? I guess you want to explain regarding entropy. So even in this decision tree, we have that company concept. This company concept. How I got this FBs in green color and ABC Pharmas in green and red color. Yes. And even in decision tree, we do have Guinea split up. I don't want to touch that because it is very vast concept. Yes, fine. So I'll do one thing, guys. I'll explain the decision tree again in tomorrow's session. I'll start explaining the decision tree from the beginning. I guess you have some doubts in decision tree. So I'll start explaining it to you from the beginning, the decision tree in tomorrow's session. Okay. Okay. So all those things you will come to know when we just start working with hands-on session, because we are just going very theoretical way. So might be you would feel it bore and not able to understand how this problem is getting solved, or how do I get this value, how I apply this particular value to this particular formula. All those things you may get confused. Don't get confused. So all those things are just about the algorithms and classifiers. Okay, if you feel it difficult, you just let me know. I'll go one algorithm a day, not an issue. Okay, I can explain an algorithm a day in brief way also, sorry, in detailed way also. That is also possible. The thing is that we need to complete all this classifier by this week, and we need to proceed to hands-on session in next week at least. So that is the reason I'm just rushing up. Fine. So as of today, I have just completed with SPM, I guess, and decision tree again. I'll start up with tomorrow's session. Okay. Is that fine, guys? Okay. Shakti, what about you and Divya Bharati?
Understood, ma'am.
Okay. Divya Bharati? All right, guys. Thank you for joining. You may leave now. Thank you.